going to look at some positive news from Rand Paul continuing to deliver on his promises. He wants a $500 billion cut. He's supporting his father in the audit of the Fed, and he is promising to try to block the reauthorization in the U.S. Senate of the USA Patriot Act. So he is certainly delivering on what he promised to do. And that leads us into Congressman Ron Paul. The first thing I'm going to cover when we come back is not just Rand Paul, but Ron Paul. Fox News has been caught in an extremely wicked, dirty trick. And there really should be some repercussions for this. If they did something deceptive like this on someone I don't like Barack Obama or Dick Cheney, I would be screaming and hopping up and down concerned. But they did this to Ron Paul. Of course, they wouldn't do this to Dick Cheney or Barack Obama or a fellow globalist. They would only do this to somebody like Ron Paul. They have been caught absolutely red-handed playing video reportedly of Ron Paul being booed at CPAC, and it's a lie. It's a fraud. It's a fake. And we're going to break that down the other side. And they are admittedly caught. They have admittedly been dinged. When I saw this last night, I couldn't believe it. I actually went to cspan.org. They have all of it archived there for free, the audio and video of it, and did go to the video where they announced the winner of the CPAC coveted poll to Ron Paul. Unbelievable standing ovation. All you hear is just thunderous applause. If you watch Fox News, it's complete and total booing. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is outrageous. And you know who runs Fox News? It's the Karl Rove / Roger Ailes arm of rhino neocons who pose as conservatives so they can control the conservative movement in this country that threatens the New World Order, period. This is so important, and I'm going to break it all down on the other side. Then, USA Today, kill switch internet bill, alarms privacy experts, and so much more. We'll tell you what the latest from Bernie Madoff, saying the big banks had to know what he was doing. Of course they did. It is all coming up today. Stay with us. We are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, the 16th day of February, 2011. Thank you for joining us. USA Today headline, kill switch internet bill alarms privacy experts. How about people that want to have free speech in this country? We're going to be going over that report. Also, parents blame toddler's death on tainted alcohol wipes. Millions of pad swabs recalled because of same bacteria that killed 2-year-old. Bernie Madoff in my financial stack from CNBC. From prison, Madoff says banks had to know of fraud. Of course they did. They were deeply involved in all of it. Also, they've been reporting that Hosni Mubarak was in a coma or dead the last 3 or 4 days. Now they say that he is reportedly near death in Egypt. First, they'd said that he'd been in Israel for the last, 4 or 5 days, or I guess longer, since Friday. No one really knows where he is. So I guess that's almost 6 days. We're going to be going over all of that, continuing with our look at North Africa and the Middle East. The Suez Canal workers stage sit-in as U.S. warships have been dispatched. We're going to be breaking that down today. But I also want to just give you the note that Gerald Celente will be joining us coming up in the last 30 minutes of the broadcast on the economy and the revolutions that are popping up worldwide, driven by increased food prices via dollar devaluation and other factors. And Luke Rudkowski will also be joining us for 30 minutes to talk about his incredible confrontation of Dick Cheney at CPAC. Now, mentioning CPAC, I do not have words to describe how naked the corruption of Fox News is. And you know I criticize MSNBC. I criticize CNN. These groups all basically have goals via the establishment to suppress the population's political awakening and to basically play the population of the United States off against each other. And that is clearly what is happening today. CNN is more to an international audience and tries to play the middle as if they're nonpartisan. MSNBC is filled with extreme kind of fake left vitriol and race baiting. If you don't like government-run health care, then you are a racist. If you don't give up your guns, you're a racist. And then you look at Fox News. What is Fox News there for? They're rhinos. They're Republicans in name only. It is their job to suppress and to control the libertarian/conservative movement in this country that at its roots threatens the globalist agenda of one world government, cashless society, control grids, global SDRs, the Patriot Act, the surveillance grid, the military-industrial complex takeover of this country. So the Democrats, bought and paid for by the same offshore/Wall Street interest, they're there to put out a political narrative that is attractive and manipulative towards people that see themselves as leftists. Fox News is there to kind of keep Republicans on the main line, fake, plastic, conservative front. And they're also there, of course, to continue that left-right paradigm, balkanization, division that we talk so much about. Now, illustrating this is the fact that for decades, Rush Limbaugh, and for the last decade or so, Fox Television, Fox News, have made endless jokes about people that are worried about a police state. People that don't like the private Federal Reserve, people that criticize the Council on Foreign Relations, when all of these organizations openly are pushing for world government, and true patriots that are aware of this threat have been covering it and trying to warn the people. So for as long as they could, Fox News tried to paint anyone that talked about real issues with a tinfoil hat paintbrush. But in the last 3 or 4 years, there have been so many AP and Financial Times of London and Newsweek and Time Magazine articles and so many open announcements by the G20 and the United Nations that indeed a private world government is being established. That indeed a system of planetary corporate rule is being created, that indeed a program of forced world population reduction and one-child policy is real. So it's gone from academic papers and the geopolitical preparations for this and the unification of laws, the continuity of agenda, to now the attempt to accelerate the implementation of this. And so Fox has gone from saying none of this exists to having Dick Morris on routinely on shows like Hannity. And he says, yes, the conspiracy theorists were nuts, saying there was a plan for a world government and a world currency, but now they're right. And they put Glenn Beck out to basically cover that niche of awakening libertarians and conservatives, but only so they have your confidence when they bring in the next messianic Republican leader, which is any major Republican presidential contender other than Ron Paul. And I take you back to CNN and Fox, going back 3 years ago on CNN and the last 2 years with Glenn Beck. On his own radio show and TV, he'll have Glenn Beck will have Ron Paul on. He will say he's a good guy and then call him a kook right after it. Or he'll say Ron Paul supporters want a money bomb. They may want to blow things up. They might be terrorists. The Army may need to be used against them. If you don't know about that clip, just pull it up. Glenn Beck says Army may need to be used against Ron Paul supporters. He says the Army may need to be used against these domestic threats. So we have all of that going on. And we have Fox News famously with people they don't like, taking photos of them, changing the color to a green or yellow hue, deforming the faces. They've been caught a lot doing this. And you really get to see who the system's afraid of when the Democrats are out there saying Ron Paul can't win, even though he's won CPAC 2 years in a row and is winning most scientific polls as the #1 slot right now as the presidential contender, the best chance to beat Barack Obama. In some polls, it still meant Romney, but most polls, Ron Paul's #1, and the other polls, he's #2. So you've got people like Trump saying he can't win, creating this self-fulfilling prophecy. But right after Ron Paul won the CPAC poll, Fox News knowingly cut to last year in a staged Mitt Romney event where they booed him. And that was staged last year, where Fox had their microphone in the Mitt Romney contingent so that it would sound like they were over booing the cheers for Ron Paul when he won. That was staged and came out last year. This is even worse. This year, they ignored the live C-SPAN feed or their own live feed with the same guy announcing that in the same background from last year, and they played last year's feed of Ron Paul being booed and then put Ron Paul on live and said, what do you think of them just booing you? And Ron Paul said, well, I didn't see it, so I don't know. This is a hoax. This is Fox News insulting their listeners, treating you like you're a complete and total absolute moron. And they cannot be trusted at any level. And it's despicable. The people want Ron Paul. If the media even halfway acknowledges this, he will be the next president of the United States. A guy who's never compromised, has a perfect voting record, who will risk his life. You better believe they're going to come after him physically, to try to abolish the Federal Reserve and restore the Republic. And what does Fox News do? They run a PSYOP hoax, and they've not responded to this. I demand that they respond to this. I demand that you put pressure on them. I've never called for boycotts of Fox. I've actually said that we shouldn't let Media Matters try to bankrupt Glenn Beck. But at a certain point, we've got to use our financial power against them. I mean, I don't know. Do you as listeners have other ideas of what we can do about this? Enough is enough is enough is enough. They think you're weak-minded. They think if they show you people booing Ron Paul, that you'll think, well, he's not popular, I won't get behind him. And they think you're so weak-minded that if they tell you he can't win, they can then cheat him at the electronic voting machine boxes in the primaries. They can defeat him coming up. They think they can create that mindset, well, I would vote for Ron Paul, but he can't win. He's winning the Gallup polls. Multiple polls, he gets first or second place behind Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney was a supporter of government-run health care. It's come out today that, of course, Haley Barbour lobbied, when he was the head of the Republican Party, for total amnesty. I mean, if you want total amnesty in the North American Union, open borders, if you want a George Bush-style Rockefeller Republican, if you want the SPP, if you want your guns taken, Bush supported the assault weapons ban, if you want the Wall Street looting, if you want the Federal Reserve to continue, then by all means, support Newt Gingrich, support Mitt Romney, support the Haley Barbour-style Republican Party. But if you want a true constitutionalist that reflects true conservative ideas and values, Ron Paul is the man. Ron Paul, ladies and gentlemen, is the answer. Now, he's the answer at the federal level, and if he runs and loses, we still win by him getting the word out and injecting sanity into those debates and telling people what's really happening. It sent shockwaves around the world 3 years ago. I'd say it'll be 20 times the effect conservatively this time. He must run. He will run unless something happens. But when we come back, I'm going to play you first the real audio and video of him getting a total standing ovation when he won Friday versus the fake video they played.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Here's another example of what I'm talking about. Driving in this morning, listening to local radio, Genesis, on a local station, I heard the SRN radio news that they carry. And they talked about CPAC and didn't even mention Ron Paul, the winner. That's another way mainline Republicans, and that's what basically runs SRN, and I guess it's better than some of the other stuff we could carry, but I've told Ted he should just produce his own news for stations. In fact, maybe I should just set that up in my office. We can outdo what they're doing any day with just dry, focused news. And you just hear the propaganda laced in there where they take you as a listener as a moron. And they deceive you and talk about CPAC and don't even tell you who the winner is, when that's the whole point of it. That'd be like having a newscast about the Kentucky Derby 30 minutes after it finishes, on Saturday morning or whenever they have it, and then not telling you what horse won. Now, what Fox News did is even worse. That's deception by omission. Fox News showed a clip from last year, and that was a scandal, too. It was all staged. They had a microphone in the little Mitt Romney contingent. He had lost. He was angry. And so Fox News cut to it with the microphone in the crowd so that you, with the directional mic, only heard those around it. So it sounded like Ron Paul got booed. This year, the cheering was so overwhelming for Ron Paul, they just didn't show you that, and they showed you last year with the same master of ceremonies. So we're first going to play you what actually happened last week when they announced Ron Paul as the winner, and you'll hear the sustained total cheering. Then we're going to go back to the start of the video. If you want to see it all for yourself, it's Fox News caught in shocking dirty trick stunt against Ron Paul. And that's up on PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com. And this needs to be gotten out to all Fox News listeners and viewers so that pressure is put on Fox so they don't continue to engage in dirty tricks like this, not just against Ron Paul, but against the electorate and against their viewers. This is outrageous. So you hear about half of it is booing for Mitt Romney. You can almost hear no booing for Ron Paul. You have the one Mitt Romney corner doing it. I guess Fox couldn't get a microphone snaked over to that area right in the mouth of one of the Mitt Romney supporters to boo, to drown out everybody else. And so Fox just said, you know what, get Ron Paul on right after the announcement. They get Ron Paul on, and the Fox News host, we're going to come back from break and play this, says, hey, you got booed. What do you think of that? And they show the video from the year before. And what a difference. He only won by a few percentage points last year. He beat Romney by a whole bunch of points, as you just heard, this year. And you heard the just deafening standing ovation. You can barely hear some boos from the Mitt Romney crowd. And Fox News, they just decided you don't get to hear it. You don't get to see it. They're going to engage in fraud. They're going to engage in a hoax. They're going to engage in lies. They're going to keep you from being able to actually hear what people had to say for Ron Paul. He also won the poll, of course. But remember how he kept winning the text votes in all the debates? And the media would then either ignore it or would say, oh, well, this is ridiculous. You see, Ron Paul was proven right 2.5, 3 years ago in that campaign. And the system is now very, very scared. We'll show you the fraud when we come back. Right here on the GCN Radio Network, GCNlive.com. I'm Alex Jones. Okay, so you just heard the audio, or if you're watching PrisonPlanet.tv, the video, heard and saw the video of what really happened last Friday when Ron Paul won the coveted CPAC poll, which Reagan won and catapulted him in 79, and that so many other people that end up winning the Republican nomination have won as well. And last year, Fox said, well, the straw poll doesn't really count anymore. And this year, they just lied and played an old tape saying Ron Paul got booed. That's what they think of you. And I'm going to play that in a moment. But, I mean, look, Fox News is pushing this hard, and so are all the other camp followers. Again, radio news that I mentioned earlier, that even this network carries. We don't produce it. Just mention the straw poll and didn't even mention Ron Paul, the winner. It's like mentioning the Super Bowl right after it is over and not saying who won. This is what they think of you. Then they say, disrespectful libertarians hijack CPAC poll and its mission. And they go on here to not even really clearly tell you that Ron Paul won. And then they demonize him and say that, well, it's just a bunch of fluff. Doesn't even make sense. It says, it is the libertarians in attendance that produced the free pornographic calendar passed out to attendees in 2010. So somebody handed something out, and so they blame all libertarians. It is the libertarians in attendance who openly promote the inclusion of groups like GOP Round, largely as an attempt to silence groups who speak in strong opposition to traditional moral values. So again, the idea is because somebody shows up and talks about something, it's Ron Paul's fault. See how they, and the whole thing is just a giant demonization campaign that the gays are going to get us if we vote for Ron Paul, when that's not even one of Ron Paul's issues. And meanwhile, you know, it's the Republicans' leadership at Bohemian Grove shipping in the male prostitutes. And who's reported on that? New York Daily News, New York Post, Vanity Fair. Just 2 years ago, Vanity Fair reporter snuck in there and witnessed it all. He got arrested, but still, he's a reporter, so they couldn't erase his brain. All of what he saw was there. Spy Magazine, back in the 80s, reported on it. I mean, come on. Richard Nixon told Harper's Magazine that it's a giant homosexual orgy. So, come on, guys. Republicans are telling us that they're so afraid of the gays that are going to come out from under the table and get them. But meanwhile, we all know that the mainline rhinos, you basically have to be a homosexual to be a high-powered mainline Republican, and Ron Paul isn't. We all saw what happened with Barat. They tell him it's a German TV interview. They tell him, please step in this room while we fix the lights. And Barat, playing the part of Bruno, starts stripping his clothes down, and Ron Paul shoves him out of the door and screams at him and is completely freaked out, running out of the room. Now, if it would have been one of your other mainline Republicans, it would have been a full-on sex scene with Bruno. No doubt. I mean, it'd have been, boom, absolute you-know-what going down. So they're mad at Ron Paul. He doesn't join the club. He doesn't go into airport bathrooms. He's not, being found with dead interns like, so many people that are big mainline Republicans. One of them is a host on MSNBC in the morning. But, oh, my gosh, they just want to protect us. They just want to protect us. And it goes on and on. So I already played for you the audio and video of what really happened last Friday. Imagine how dumb they think you are. It's on C-SPAN. It's live on other channels. And they have the dirty trick ready. They go back and get last year, which itself was a staged event, with the microphone into the Fox feed, shoved up in the Mitt Romney gaggle, the Mitt Romney group. That's kind of like the famous roar of then presidential candidate Howard Dean back in 2000. What year was that election? Back in 2004, where he's got the the microphone that I guess they call it a cardioid projection, where it only picks up what's right on your mouth. And so he's yelling and roaring while everybody else is cheering, and it sounds like he's crazy because all you hear is him roaring. Ah! And they spun all that like, oh, look, he's a maniac. Well, it's the same thing. A year and 5 days ago at CPAC, this came out then, we wrote articles about it, ran a microphone over, they had it all staged, okay, when Ron Paul wins, which they already knew from inside baseball, the things run by the Republicans, was going to happen, you guys cheer into the microphone when Mitt Romney gets up second, but when Ron Paul gets up, you boo. Well, I guess they couldn't pull that off this year. So, knowing it's the same guy that presented last year that presents this year, as he's done for over a decade at CPAC, they go ahead and say, well, it's the same background, same guy. Let's go ahead and bait and switch. Our viewers are so stupid and so addled that they won't figure out what's happening. So it's not about Ron Paul's issues. It's not about Ron Paul's ideas. It's not about him winning Gallup polls that are scientific, being in first or second place in multiple polls. It's not about him winning the coveted straw poll 2 years in a row. It's not about staged boos last year and now no boos you can hear in standing ovation this year. It's all about he got booed, which itself is a fraud and is a lie. Now, regardless of what you think of Ron Paul, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever the case may be, what should happen to Fox News? I mean, we should talk about it. We should say it's wrong. We should speak out against it. I mean, they crafted this. They aired this days after that announcement had been made. They got this ready. They got Ron Paul ready for the show, and they knowingly lied to their viewers. And look, I know the media spins and lies by omission. Now, there is this year. There is the fellow announcing the winners this year. And you notice he's wearing a different shirt and does not have a lanyard around his neck. but the same background, the same American flag background they used last year is what they used this year. And then, again, if you're watching on PrisonPlanet.tv, you can see this. If not, go to Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com, and you can see the video for yourself. Fox caught in shocking dirty trick stunt against Ron Paul. That was this year. And then there's last year. A little bit different shirt, a little bit different jacket, and he's got a blue lanyard around his neck. So, what is Fox News going to do? Caught trying to deceive their viewers. I mean, does that make people happy? Do you like that? We're going to open the phones up, and I want to get your take on this issue and all the other issues that I've already, basically skimmed over. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. We'll get you up and on the air. Then I'm going to get into all of the other incredible news that we have here on Egypt, on the economy, on Bernie Madoff, on poison, toxic products killing kids, on the internet kill switch, alarms, privacy experts, USA Today. That is all coming up. But I'm asking you, the listeners, specifically, you can talk about whatever you want here. We don't screen your calls. It's wide open phones for first-time callers in this first hour, and then a little bit into the next hour, then it'll be wide open for everybody. But, I mean, does this anger you? Have we just gotten to the point where we just accept being manipulated and being deceived? It's one thing if media makes a mistake, or it's one thing if media gets their facts wrong. Sometimes nobody's perfect. Everybody does that. It's another thing that Fox has this long history of crafted hoaxes and deception. Just like Rachel Maddow got up with Rand Paul. He had about a 2-second delay on the satellite. She said, "Are you for getting rid of the Civil Rights Act?" And he said, "Yes, I can't hear you. Hold on. Yes. Say it again. No, I'm not for getting rid of that." And they put a transcript out, cutting out the yes, now I can hear you, to do you agree with getting rid of the Civil Rights Act? Yes, I do. When clearly, we've played the video here, he said, hold on, I didn't hear you. Yes, what was that? They say it again. No, I'm not for getting rid of it. And they said he kidnapped a woman. They said he wasn't really a medical doctor. But see, that backfired on him. But see, Fox still has a lot of conservatives trusting them. MSNBC's lost their trust. That's why their biggest shows have 500,000 viewers. Some nights, maybe 1 million. Most of their shows, about 250,000. I mean, a big radio station in a major city has that many listeners per hour. It's a joke. It's a fraud. It's a hoax. And we should, though, still be happy, because the fact that Fox has to pose as patriots shows how far we've come. The fact that we forced them to cover world government. The fact that we forced them to cover SDRs and cashless grids. The fact that we've gone this far is amazing and is extremely, extremely, extremely exciting. So I want to do a top search term today, Fox News caught. If you put Fox News caught into a Google search engine and click web, it's already the top links. And so what this will do is people will wonder what Fox News has been caught in. You see, they've got to destroy Ron Paul. They don't like to just do these risky, out in the open lies unless they're really desperate. And they can't have him winning the presidency. It's already going to be bad enough to have him in the debates if he runs, which I guarantee he's going to unless he has any health issues. And we got to really pray for him, because just like Dr. Paul Craig Roberts said, he said, if Ron Paul continues to build like this, they may go after him. And Ron Paul said on this show he knows that's a real issue. So he's putting a lot on the line for us. We need to support him. And Rand Paul's now going after the Patriot Act like he promised to do. These are great men, a great father and son duo, and God love them. But let's make Fox News caught the #1 search term. Victory goes to whoever wants it the most. So hit them hard, put those 3 words in, Fox News caught, C-A-U-G-H-T, Fox News caught. And let's get into that article about them being caught running this dirty tricks campaign. They've been caught with their pants down. And I don't have some vendetta against Fox or any of the mainstream media. I'm just here exposing their dirty tricks, and it's got to be done. I wish that they do the right thing, but they're not. So Fox News caught. Get that into Google today. I just got some disturbing news, and it's going up on Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. You know that in the Mediterranean, U.S. warships have been massing, also in and around the Suez Canal. Israel has said in the last 3 weeks that they are prepared for military action. The Marine Corps fast teams are being deployed to in and around Egypt. And now we have this report. Israel says Iran warships to transit Suez for Syria. And Iranian warships are in the Mediterranean, a serious provocation. So we're going to be breaking down what could lead to a major conflict in the Middle East. Stay with us. Rudkowski joining us live for 30 minutes coming up in the next hour. It is Wednesday, the 16th day of February, 2011. We also have Gerald Celente on what's happening in markets around the world, situation in the Middle East. Let me cover this very important breaking news. I told you, folks, that the West, the same corporate interests that have sacked our country, funded the Muslim extremist, funded the communist, on record, you name it, to bring order out of chaos, are trying to overthrow a swath of countries, not just Tunisia or Egypt, but Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Yemen. And obviously, this is going to drive up oil prices. This is going to drive up food prices. This is going to drive up commodities and only exacerbate those countries where the people are only making a few bucks a day on average, like Egypt. And now the media admits that they sent people in to overthrow Mubarak. And then right as he defiantly says, no, I won't step down, when Panetta, the head of the CIA, had said he was going to step down hours before, he magically has a stroke and disappears, and no one knows where he is. Is he in a resort in Egypt? Is he in a resort in Israel? Did he go to Germany? Nobody knows. All these conflicting reports. Is he dead? Now we hear he's near death. Did he have a stroke? On and on and on and on. Such convenient timing. And now this happens. Bloomberg. Oil climbs as Israel says Iranian warships heading for Syria. It might be true, but we have a media that told us that Russia attacked Georgia on 8/88 in 2008. We have a media that says that people booed Ron Paul. They play fake video on Fox News saying he was booed at CPAC when he won. I mean, who knows if this is even true? But we'll find out in the next few hours. In fact, let's start checking foreign press. Let's check Press TV, the official Iranian government. It was Iranian government funded, but let's check Press TV and see if the Iranians are saying that they are indeed putting ships into that area, which are crawling with Israeli, NATO, and U.S. ships. Oil climbs as Israel says Iranian warships heading for Syria. Crude rose after Israeli foreign minister Lieberman said 2 Iranian gunboats are planning to move through the Suez Canal to Syria, spurring concern that Middle Eastern oil shipments will be disrupted. And you're talking about 30+% of the oil in the world, 10% of all commerce going through that. You got the Marines deploying. You've got the Israeli Singer on a war footing. This is crazy. Over 2 gunboats? A gunboat. Remember, Dick Cheney wanted to have fake gunboats painted up like Iranian boats attack our own ships. That's now been confirmed. New York Magazine, The New Yorkers reported on that. So who knows if this is even true. Oil climbed as much as 1.9% after Lieberman called the move. He expects later today a provocation. Well, is it a provocation when U.S. and Israeli ships and submarines are right off the coast of Iran? I mean, come on. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Oil climbed as much as 1.9% after Lieberman called the move. He expects later today, it hadn't happened yet, a provocation. The Associated Press reported the first ever protest against Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi as demonstrations took place in Bahrain and Yemen. This is the latest edition of the Middle East Risk Premium, said Phil Flynn, Vice President of Research at PFG Best in Chicago. This is a knee-jerk reaction to the headlines that Iran is planning to send 2 warships through the Suez Canal. Crude oil for March delivery rose 81 cents, or 1%, to 85.13 a barrel. It was as much as 103 just a few weeks ago. Brent crude for April settlement advanced to $2.23 or 2.2% to $103.87. Again, $103.87 a barrel on the London-based ICE Futures Europe exchange to conduct a touch-up of $104.52, the highest intraday price since September 25th, 2008. The possible move of Iran comes 5 days after Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak stepped down. You mean disappeared. Israeli leaders have voiced concern that Iran may exploit the period of transition. The tension in the Middle East is having a greater impact on the Brent market, and it goes on from there. Here's another one. Precious metals, COMEX, gold higher on Iran warship news. Gold edged higher on reports that Iran plans to send warships through the Suez Canal. Israel has described Iran's plans to send 2 warships to the key shipping thoroughfare as a provocation. Gold spiked up more than $6.30 to $1,380.40 per troy ounce, and it's still moving up as we read you this news report. Okay, continuing to cover issues here, ladies and gentlemen. The globalists want to divide us along different lines and have us just fight with each other all day like crabs in a bucket instead of focusing on the global banking cartel and removing the fractional reserve banking system. You can put whatever you want at the head of it and have a voodoo doll of the Rothschilds or the Vatican or the Easter Bunny, and you can sit there and stab it in, in your bedroom all night. That's great. And beat your chest and say, I'm better than Alex Jones. I talk about Jews all day. Good for you. Good. More power to you. I'm here to say I got my Bill of Rights and my Constitution. I want constitutional money, and I want my country back. And if we just follow the Constitution, all of these corrupt interests won't be able to run our nation. Okay? It's that simple. Let's go ahead and talk to Zach in Illinois. Zach, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, I'm actually from Texas, but first off, I want to thank you, Alex.
Let me be clear, because I keep getting calls with different states behind them. You're in Texas. You're not in Illinois.
Yeah, I'm in Texas.
Okay, we're going to go back through the calls, and we're going to check those states there. Okay, Zach, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to clarify something that you have been saying. Okay, so there was a congressional committee, and there were the head of the CIA, the head of the FBI, whatnot. They were being asked about terror threats, and a congressman asked Panetta on what Mubarak would do that day. And this was on Thursday, the day that Mubarak announced that he would be giving his powers to the vice president. So the Panetta, the director of the CIA, goes, well, we have gotten some documents on what he might do. We don't have anything on what he will do, but from my perspective, from what I know, I would say that he would give his powers to the vice president, so on and so forth. So then I get on the news, all the main media. What he basically said is what Mubarak had said was that he's going to transfer his powers to the VP. So the CIA director knew beforehand exactly what Mubarak was going to do. I'm sure that's not a surprise to you. But also, I had a suggestion for all these people who come on here bashing you, Alex. I mean, I'm a huge listener. I think you're doing good. I don't know how you can possibly be corrupt when you talk about Ron Paul.
I don't care. Look, let's just say I'm evil. I'm not, but let's just say I'm corrupt and as wicked as Beelzebub himself. Okay, let's move on from Alex Jones. Let's take back our states, take back our counties. People are waking up. Let's not always turn it around and turn it into something about Alex Jones. That's what losers do. All they do is infight with each other and run around and engage in a bunch of mindless garbage. I'm here to do a radio show. Can you imagine people driving around the country listening to us on AM and FM stations right now? And they're wondering what we're even talking about. I appreciate your call. I mean, I'm here to take your phone calls and talk about issues. Let's go ahead and talk to Patrick in Ohio. Patrick, you're on the air.
Hello, Alex. I want to say one thing about Ron Paul and that straw poll is, how do you get 30% such a big lead and get booed? It just doesn't make sense to me.
No, he didn't get booed. It was fake. They admit it was fake. It's unbelievable that Fox, for those that just joined us, let me just recap it since you brought it up. Thank God a listener actually brought up a real issue. Ron Paul last year won the straw poll. And Mitt Romney's people were all together in one area. Fox News, and this came out at the time, had a microphone amongst them to make the booing overpower the thousands of people that were cheering. This year, it didn't work that way. overwhelming standing ovation throughout the entire, I mean, you hear it. It's all over the crowd. It's not coming from one side. Ron Paul won, and these cheaters on Fox News get him on and say, here's a clip of you being booed this year, just a few days ago. And it wasn't. It was from the year before. And we've got the total proof of it in the video posted in Paul Joseph Watson's article, Fox News caught in shocking dirty trick stunt against Ron Paul. And we're doing the keyword search term, Fox News caught. Now, go ahead. You got the floor.
I think it's great that they did that, and we get a chance to expose them for the neocons that they really are, and we get to get it out there, word out, and wake some more people up. That's what it's all about. And I want to thank you again, Alex, and listen for your comment.
Well, let me ask you this, Patrick. Patrick, let me ask you this. Why do you think Fox has got so much hubris? I mean, why are they so arrogant to think that they could get away with this?
Because they got away with it for so long. I mean, they've done it over and over again for, 30 years, 60 years, and people are starting to wake up and see through their rhetoric, and they can't figure it out yet. Eventually they will, but
yeah,
or they're just arrogant. They never will.
Great points, Patrick. Good having you on board. Yeah, what happened is they did the same thing that Rachel Maddow, that Mr. Maddow did to Rand Paul. The same type of hoax. I mean, are we going to let them get away with this at Fox News? We'll be right back with more of your calls. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., we're here live. Gerald Celente coming up, as well as Luke Rudkowski, founder of We Are Change, confronted Dick Cheney and brought up the 9/11 stand-down order that the Secretary of Transportation, Norman Mineta, talked about in congressional testimony. He's done at least 4 or 5 interviews with We Are Change himself, Mr. Panetta, confirming that Cheney lied about saying that he got in the bunker 45 minutes later than he actually had. And Cheney got caught lying in Congress. And in that bunker, he ordered the stand down. And thanks to you getting the word out on that yesterday, it's had a huge effect. We're about action. A little less talk, a little more action. We're here to talk about the issues and the problems, and then we're here to get Americans and people around the world to check out the information we cover for themselves, and then to take action with that information. Now, before I go back to your calls and then to this premiere of this 5-minute special video we put together last night, the takedown of Hosni Mubarak, that we're going to premiere here in just a moment. But before we go any further, we are listener-supported. And you support us by purchasing the T-shirts, the ball caps that get the word out, that are walking billboards for the truth, that'll help you meet like-minded people, the V for Victory, Resistance is Victory shirts, the Draft Ron Paul 2012 shirts, the What in the World Are They Spring DVD, covering the chemtrails, Fall of the Republic, Burmes's excellent film I produced, Invisible Empire, History of the New World Order. It's all available at Infowars.com. And you can get 5 of my newest films for $24.95. We're going to be getting rid of that special soon. That's less than $5 a piece. You've got high-quality DVDs with expanded extras to give to your friends and family when you visit Infowars.com. When you buy the books and videos and materials, you're voting with your dollars to support this broadcast so we can continue and expand. The TV studio is almost done. Now we're having to make the intros and outros and develop it. I'm doing all this while I'm making films, doing the radio show, doing radio interviews, working on major stories, and I'm glad to do it. But we couldn't do it without your support, so I want to thank all of you that have supported us. You can also, for $5.95 a month, it's like 15 cents a day, prisonplanet.tv, the live video stream of the radio show, a whole nother dimension of info, the archive of that in the high quality, the higher quality podcast there, commercial-free, all of my films, expanded original interviews that you've been seeing now every week, where I fly my crew around the country to interview all these amazing individuals. PrisonPlanet.tv, 15 cents a day, $5.95 a month, or sign up for a year and get 3 months free. PrisonPlanet.tv. The globalists are upset about us. They're upset about the effect we're having. And I should be glad I'm just being COINTELPRO'd. I should be glad I'm just being lied about and demonized. It's better than a bullet in the head. It's better than them giving me a heart attack, and that may be in store. But I'm committed to this. What do pilots call it when you've run out of runway and you're either going to crash or you're going to take off? They call it V2. And I reached the point of no return, or V2, more than a decade ago. I'm going all the way. I'm not stopping. The stakes are too high, and God is on our side, and I pray for divine providence in this fight against tyranny. Now, I'm going to give each one of these callers about 1 minute, because I've got to get to this Hosni Mubarak situation, then into other news ahead of Luke Rudkowski and Gerald Celente joining us in the power-packed third hour. But right now, Jason in Connecticut, you're on the air.
Alex, I'm so grateful to talk to you and your audience. I woke up a year ago, and I'm just excited to be on the phone with you. First of all, the CIA-backed Google, the CEO came out and said he's very, very proud of that exec who organized the protests in Egypt. A little coincidental that, CIA-backed Google would, provoke...
Google is CIA. It's admittedly set up by In-Q-Tel, their public venture firm. It is NSA spying software that they use. So basically, you're searching the web using NSA keyword technology. That's the backbone of Google's system. They helped run the revolution. It's all Zbigniew Brzezinski, David Rockefeller type operation, and it's there in plain view. Go ahead.
Amen. First of all, I want to say we're Americans, okay? Don't let your eyes refuse to see. Don't let your ears refuse to hear, and don't let your voice refuse to be heard. I think Americans need to step up. We need to just wake our neighbors up, wake up our communities, email or buy the Constitution for your friends, your neighbors, your sons, your daughters. Wake them up to the Constitution of the United States of America. Let's back up Ron Paul. Let's stop voting for career politicians. I'm glad Lieberman and Dodd are getting out of Connecticut. They're sinking us. We just, voted for Governor Malloy, who's raising our taxes. There's so much I can talk to you about, but the funny thing is Obama yesterday mentioned that Bush was inspiring citizens to become points of light. That sounds like Illuminati type of phrases to me.
He said 1,000 points of light, which is an Illuminati term. You're absolutely right. Anything else?
I just want to say, America, wake up. Again, don't let your eyes refuse to see. Don't let your ears refuse to hear. And don't let your voices be refused to be heard. We all need to stand up together, work as Americans. We are America. Let's bring it back, Alex. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of your listeners. Let's keep the V campaign going. And, I'm just proud to be an American. Let's just bring it back, guys. Absolutely.
Look at the awakening that's happening. Look at how far we've come together. And talking about this V for Victory campaign, the answer to 1984, 1776 campaign, it is so huge what is happening with that. It is just unbelievable. This is the biggest response we've ever had, and I see all these incredible videos of people out there involved in activism. I salute all of you. It is so incredible to behold. Carissa in New Mexico, you're on the air.
I've been listening for about 2 months, and you really have a powerful insight into how the world works. I wanted to tell you about something you probably already know, but it's a powerful way to describe it, which is a concept from physics called Maxwell's demon. And it's a way to describe the second law of thermodynamics that Maxwell came up with. And it basically is a hypothetical system that explains that for heat to flow from cold to hot, you would have to have a hypothetical demon controlling, interrogating each molecule that goes one way and the other. And I think this is how the globalists can forge into new areas they're not in yet, where there may be places like court decisions or committees reviewing proposals and so forth where subjectivity comes into play, and then it's only in those subjective points where they can make the judgment call and push things their way. I think this is a powerful analogy, and it creates a lot of structure in biological systems, and I think you could apply it to how the globalists are able to infiltrate and make it look like things are proceeding by law and order, but they're really not, and they're really only going in one direction.
Well, the globalists study how humans operate and how civilizations develop, and they know how to deploy themselves at key junctures, and by controlling the issuance of currency and credit, they're able to take over the entire planet because they issue the symbol of energy, the symbol of food, the symbol of subsistence, and what sustains people. And so through the issuance of fiat currency and credit, they take over the world. Great points. I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Scott in Washington. Scott, you're on the air.
Yeah, Alex. I wanted to talk a little bit about this thing that they're trying to run with this healthcare hoax as in the light of the last decision. But I wanted to ask you something real quick before I get into that. You had mentioned back in December something about you had wanted to get Mike Gravel on your show in light of the new 9/11 investigation, and I don't know whether or not you were able to do that, but I had sent to both your show tips and your Aaron at InfoWars his contact information, and I don't know whether or not you ever got it or not.
All right, I'm having one of those forgetful moments. The name rings a bell. Isn't he the liberal talk show host?
No, he was the senator from Alaska, ran for
president.
Oh,
okay. I thought you were saying Ravel. You're talking about former Senator Gravel.
Yes. Gravel.
Absolutely. I know who he is. That's why I couldn't pull up who it was, because I was hearing you wrong. Yes, I want to get Senator Gravel on, because he's very boldly come out and talked about 9/11 being an inside job, and it's very, very exciting.
Because, yeah, he does want to come on, because he did send me his new contact information to forward to you, and I had sent it to show tips on December 29th. I don't know if you got it or
yeah,
not.
Some of that stuff gets lost in the mix. Why don't you, I'm going to put you on hold, but just please don't send us a bunch of spam in it because it gets filled up. I'm going to give you my producer's email, and you can send us that new info. I really appreciate it. Anything else, Scott?
Yeah, I just wanted to bring up real quickly about this health care, the new hoax that they're trying to run around, and especially, and I've heard Tom Hartman doing this, trying to say that there's nowhere in the Constitution where a federal judge or the Supreme Court has a right to overturn a law that's made if it's constitutional, and then trying to quote Article 3, Section 2 of the Constitution, which is absolutely bull, because they think that nobody is actually going to go and check it out for themselves, and then when you actually read it, it doesn't say what they're trying to allege that they're saying. So that's just another hoax that they're now trying to run.
Well, notice so-called liberals love courts overturning laws when it's laws that they don't like, but now they're saying courts, because they're overturning it across the board, don't have a right to overturn health care. Of course it's unconstitutional to make you buy something from a private interest. If they can make you buy insurance, they can make you buy a Maytag dishwasher, or they can make you buy, diamonds from the local diamond shop. They can make you eat broccoli. I mean, it's indentured servitude. It's a form of enslavement where they don't put you on a plantation. They just make you buy things from them. And you're absolutely right that courts are there to overturn laws that are unconstitutional. I appreciate your points on that. I'm going to go ahead now and get into this Hosni Mubarak situation. Then I'll come back and go to Brian, Charles, David, Matt, and others. If you go to Infowars.com, you can see the second story in the featured news area. It's titled, "The Takedown of Hosni Mubarak. Why has the media left untouched the mystery of Mubarak's reported coma coinciding with his sudden departure? He refuses to step down and then magically disappears, and then we hear he has stepped down. That's a classic coup. And I'm no fan of Hosni Mubarak, but what does this say to other dictators the globalists control? What does this say? I mean, it shows how ruthless and backstabbing these people are, and now they're putting in the same military junta that was in control before. And they're trying to overthrow other countries in the Middle East to destabilize things. And look at Iran now with the reported warships. This is escalating. This is a strategy of tension, of divide and conquer, of balkanization via the Great Game. So there is that little 5-minute video, the takedown of Hosni Mubarak. And it is, again, available at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. If you want to send somebody a 5-minute video, so you don't have to talk till you're blue in the face. Talking to my neighbors, talking to friends, family. They say, well, what, you're saying the revolution isn't good in Egypt? And I'm like, no. The people have a right to revolt. They don't deserve to be under a dictatorship. But our supposed government chooses to put dictators in and to support dictators all over the world, including Hosni Mubarak. Then suddenly they tell Mubarak to step down. When he doesn't step down, he has a stroke and disappears, and it's not a bigger media issue. And then there's the larger discussion in all of this that we have to look at, and that is, why on earth does our government try to put dictators in around the world And what does that mean about what they want to install here in the United States? And then it goes even further. How do they go from telling us Mubarak's a great guy to overnight, this is democracy, this is freedom, this is great what's happening? I mean, don't people put two and two together? They're not even setting up a constitutional republic. They're not even setting up mob rule democratization. They're just putting in the military men that were below him. And we know that Mubarak refused a year ago to get behind an attack on Iran. That is, to politically support it and allow aircraft to overfly and land inside the country. And it's on the western flank of Israel. We know that he did a lot of other things that made them mad. And so basically a message is being sent, you do what you're told or you're going to have a stroke. Mubarak was told to step down. Our media said he was going to step down. He was supposed to give a speech and step down. He defiantly got up and said, I'm not stepping down until September. I've got to have this transition of government or the country's going to be engulfed into chaos. And he went further and said that more radical elements of Islam are going to get control, and then we're going to end up having wars. That's the plan, Mubarak. That's the program that the globalists want. That's the strategy of tension. Brzezinski's written books on it. Kissinger's given speeches on it. This is not a secret. But the social controllers are counting on the general public not looking into this because it's too sophisticated on the surface. Let's go back to your phone calls. I had Luke Rudkowski joining us. Brian in Connecticut, thanks for holding. Welcome.
Hi, Alex.
Hey.
Yeah, the thing is, you just did that video about the media not covering what's going on with Mubarak. It's quite obvious why they're not covering it. It doesn't suit their agenda. They want to try to keep us, in the dark. Now, throughout all of the videos, the documentaries that you have brought to enlighten people, which I give you enormous respect and admiration for, the thing that I'm having a problem with is I've been unemployed for almost 2 years now. My benefits are going to be running out. My girlfriend works in retail. Her hours are being cut. Even during the busiest time of the year, during the holidays, she was working on part-time hours. So our funds are running out. I don't have the money to go make flyers, to make stickers. Anytime I look to find activist groups where I can join with them and go to my local government and protest what's going on, it almost seems like I'm being hindered from making connections with these people. I can't search through search engines to find them. My question to you is, because you are a leader to the people, people are looking to you for direction. Is there any way that you can help in making connections from person A to person Z, from the East Coast to the West Coast, so that people can actually start to organize to make a movement? Because in my eye, I feel as though with what's been going on with politics since Reagan, since, even way before, they're just puppets. Obama came in screaming change. I'm going to change. I'm going to change. He pulled the 180. What's to prevent Ron Paul from doing the same thing? I'm very skeptical. I don't know who to turn to. I don't know who to trust. And I'm scared. I'm afraid. I lose sleep at night. I talk to all my neighbors. I talk to my friends. When I go into stores and I pay the cashier, I try to get their mind thinking of, what's going on, maybe looking into it. And it just...
Sure, Brian. Brian, I understand your concern, and I appreciate your call. Let me try to briefly answer that extremely deep and complex issue that you raised there. Let's just take one part of what you said, because so much was said. I can't do everything. I've tried for several years to build a social network that works right. We built one, it got 30-something thousand members, and started crashing and having problems. I built another one last year, paid for it, didn't work right. I've got now people hired in-house trying to just build a basic one for people to get connected and together. So I'm working as hard as I can. That said, I hear you. We're trying. I'm trying to step up to the plate here as best I can. Now, on the other issue of Ron Paul, look at Ron Paul's voting record. It's perfect as a constitutionalist. It's unbelievably good. He's a constitutionalist. And so you judge a tree by its fruits. Obama was a guy who said that he believes in the total abolition of firearms. He's a guy that gave speeches about how he wanted socialist health care. He's a guy who was financed with 4 times the money of John McCain by Wall Street and said he was going to be an anti-Wall Street corruption candidate. So a lot of that is just basic research and discernment. I mean, we didn't say Obama was going to be good. We said Obama was going to be bad and do just what he's done. And I made the seminal film, Obama Deception, that's evergreen and gets more important with time. Watch it. It's free online. Doesn't matter if you're not employed. It's free. Just Google the Obama Deception. Watch it for free. Email it to friends and family. That's basically free. I can't do more than that. But just to say, I don't know who to trust. I don't trust Ron Paul. Okay, well, whatever. Run for city council yourself. You may not win, but you'll be able to be at the debates and inject real ideas. But, you know, to just say, the globalists want you to give up. They want you to see how much fraud they've engaged in and then not believe that you have any power or there could be somebody real. Ron Paul is not the answer to all our problems. He's just one component to the answer, and that answer is resistance. Resistance is victory. Coming up in 30 minutes, Gerald Celente on the economy, on the food riots intensifying all around the world. We're going to also get into other developments dealing with the internet kill switch. USA Today now finally covering it. It's real. It's happening. But Luke Rudkowski, the founder of We Are Change, hundreds of chapters around the world, confronting every globalist you can imagine, getting in Dick Cheney's face at CPAC last week. That video's now gone viral at wearechange.org and Infowars.com. Listeners, you did a great job. You made Cheney stand-down order the #1 search term yesterday. A whole bunch of news picked up on it and went, wow, you mean the head of the Transportation Department did say Cheney ordered to stand down, and they see the congressional C-SPAN clip? I mean, it's really gotten the word out. Luke, there's so much to discuss here, but in this segment, why don't you tell folks about the founding of We Are Change who may not know all about it? And it's an idea. It's not centrally controlled. That's why it stopped infiltrators from being able to bring it down, because it's an idea, and ideas are bulletproof. And just the hundreds of globalists on both sides of the fake political spectrum you guys have confronted.
Yeah, I mean, We Are Change, you brought up a perfect fact, is an idea. We're not really an official organization. There's really, you know, there's nothing, anything really special about it. It's just about fighting for liberty and doing the right thing. People get caught up with different organizations and who's doing this and who's doing that, but really it doesn't matter. It's only the good work that people do to help promote education, to help other people, that really matters at the end of the day. And I just started going out there confronting Zbigniew Brzezinski, and ever since then, it's just been an onslaught of, you know, David Rockefeller, you know, Giuliani, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, you know, the other Rockefellers, and so many other individuals we were able to confront. And the best thing about this is we were able to inspire so many other people to take action in their cities, in their towns, and do the same thing.
That's right. We've seen Rothschilds confronted all over the world. And we now see other groups forming and confronting people, and that's good because it makes, you know, there's more targets of us out there, harder to stop us. We've seen Al Gore confronted. I mean, you name it. Jon Stewart, whose brother runs the New York Stock Exchange, telling us how good the New World Order is. He's being confronted. His goons attacked you guys and got arrested. I mean, we're really showing who these people are.
Exactly. We just confronted David Horowitz, and I'm going to have more videos ready for everybody from, you know, my actions at CPAC. We got Newt Gingrich. We got James Woolsey, the former CIA director. You know, we got Michelle Bachmann. We're going to have so many more videos ready for everybody, and I'm just going to make this, you know, pretty much my full-time job. I want to go out there. I want to go to the Trilateral Commission meetings, the G20 meetings, the Bilderberg meetings. I want to go out there and, you know, be there wherever these people are and get in their face with the truth and just let them know, because it is such a powerful act to let them know that we are not, you know, we are not sheeple. We are not stupid. We are intelligent, caring people who give a damn and will make a difference in this world. And we will tell you, no, we're not going to have your one world government. You're not going to try to, you know, destroy this economy.
And now we see, folks, even when David Rockefeller is in Chile being confronted eloquently, we see Zbigniew Brzezinski, and this is the key, and I want to talk about when we come back, but The globalists create a climate that is going to cause rebellion, but then they're going to try to steer the revolution towards solutions that bring more corruption, more power, more world government. That's why what We Are Change is doing, and I'm just so honored, folks, because Luke's openly, and again, it's an example of what he's now inspired and what that others inspire. You know, Luke watching me get arrested by Bush or confronting, you know, other world leaders. And then Luke got mad, went out and started doing the same thing, and now others are doing it, and it is a chain reaction. Luke.
It's a continuing spiral, and, you know, I got to shout out Matis Rojas. I mean, confronted David Rockefeller in Chile. I was talking to him years before, and seeing other people take action, stand up for themselves, and believe in themselves. And
leave Chile now! Leave Chile! We do not want your new world order! You've killed a lot of people! You're killing a lot of people, David Rockefeller! Leave Chile now! I mean, that really, and the way Dick Cheney looked at you and snarled, but then put his head down and backed off. This is... If you're just joining us, one of the biggest success stories in true grassroots activism is on the broadcast with us, Luke Rudkowski. And Luke, I want to go back for new listeners that just joined us. Tell us about your awakening, your process, so it can inspire others, because I forget the exact dates and details. What happened in New York 9/11 Truth, what you've done, getting together with the Building What campaign, now causing Geraldo Rivera to come out and say we need to look at 9/11 as an inside job, now causing Judge Andrew Napolitano on Fox to come out and say, and he said it on my show first, it made national news, that the official stories like the Kennedy story, it's impossible. I mean, again, taking action, getting involved, not infighting, getting in there, getting in the globalist faces. Break that down for folks, and then we'll get into the Dick Cheney situation.
I mean, it's just been such an inspiring and amazing ride. I mean, this life and just being an awakened has changed my life for the better so much, and it's just been incredible. I mean, it started off with me getting beat up by the cops in New York City when I was 16, 17, and ever since then, I started looking into your work, and you inspired me, seeing your confrontation, seeing your information that you provide to us every single day. I take it and I run with it. And it's about, you know, we all have the same potential within all of us. We all have the same possibilities. We could do anything we want. Nothing is impossible. We just have to take it and run with it without fear, only with compassion and devotion, and we could do anything we want in this world. And we did the impossible. I mean, we helped sponsor bills in Congress that helped 9/11 first responders. We raised money for them. We do other, you know, community work here in the city, and it's about making a difference not only for yourself, not only changing yourself, but changing the outside world. And it starts with the individual sitting at home right now listening and understanding that the power is within their own grasp, within their own hands.
And what did Zbigniew Brzezinski say last year to the Council on Foreign Relations, televised on C-SPAN? He said, for the first time in world history, all of humanity is awake and staring. They are now looking past the puppets to the empire. And then he broke down the blocks of the empire. We've gone from Ron Paul not getting one co-sponsor 15, 16 years ago when he first got back into Congress. He'd done one, you know, a term before that, years before, to now passing the audit in the House. Sure, it got killed in the Senate, but now people aren't looking at puppets. More and more, they're looking at the real power structure. And once the majority of people see the real power structure and know it's the foreign banking occupation cartel, game over.
It's over for them. And people need to understand, these people, they're not as all-powerful. I mean, people show them so much of, you know, so much affection. People go up to them and, you know, they're deaf, dumb, and blind, like that girl in the Dick Cheney video screaming, "We love you, Dick Cheney. Thank you, you know, Miss Cheney." You know, but it takes just critical thinking. It takes just to look things up and do your own research and do your own homework, and just to find out how this is all just a big game, and how really, you know, the biggest secret that they're hiding, you know, from all of us is that we have the power. We have all the authority within us. We could do what we want, and that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of us waking up and understanding the power and the authority that we have within us to do what we want. And they want to keep us suppressed. They want to keep us dumb. They want to keep us fighting over stupid issues that don't even matter. And it's about just understanding life is short, and there has to be a better way. I know there is a better way, and that's why I fight. And I know that's why you fight. And, you know, with commitment, with just hard work, we could do anything we want. And that's why I'm doing everything I can right now. I have nothing else to do, and I'm just going to work really hard on We Are Change full time. I've never been able to give my full potential to this.
Yeah, I told you years ago, Luke, and I guess what you started We Are Change, what, 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years ago when I was 20.
So I told you then, I said a college degree is great, but this is destiny here. You're already making international headlines every week. You're inspiring other people. You got to create a foundation, get donations, and I even told you, I said, why give all the money you raise to other things and then don't have money for video cameras, and I'm having to send you, 4 or 5 free video cameras, and you don't have money to travel. I said, people want to fund, what you're doing as the founder of this, and then others can start their own We Are Change that follows the code and the principles, and it's not some central control, and they can go out and confront politicians, but you need to do this full time and then make a film to then sell it, to then fund yourself with that seed money to really get in a position where you can do this full time. And I'm very excited to hear that you're doing that now. Now, I want to get into the Dick Cheney situation, but first, before we go any further, tell us about what's coming up this year, the 10th anniversary in New York City of the staged false flag terror attacks that were meant to drive a stake through the heart of our republic.
Well, this year is going to be one of the biggest years. The 5th anniversary was the largest ever. This is the 10th year anniversary. We have to make a stand. We have to do something huge. We have to do something major. All I know right now is that everybody should be in New York City on Sunday, September 11, 2011. We're going to be there making a stand. We don't know if we're going to do events yet or not, but all I know is that we need to be at ground zero, sending out our message, not going out in silence, being proud of what we stand for, being proud of truth and justice, and standing there with the family members, standing there with the rescue workers. So I hope everybody makes plans for New York City early. We're going to make huge, we're going to do huge things in New York City to try to get the truth out there to everybody. And we're not backing down. We're not going to give up on 9/11. People are always telling me, talk about this, don't talk about 9/11. I'm never going to stop talking about 9/11. Truth is truth. And I don't care how,
Well, Luke, 9/11 is the foundation of the wars, the Patriot Act, the naked body scanners, the hands down the pants at the TSA. It's the pretext for everything. It must be exposed, that fraud, that false religious system of worshiping tyranny, this cult of tyranny that 9/11 is central to, must fall. But we see 9/11 truth with more and more scientists, more and more former Italian presidents, former German defense ministers, number 3 in the Japanese government. I mean, constantly former U.S. senators, more and more prominent people. What did you think about Geraldo Rivera having the Building What campaign, which our listeners donated to the very kickoff of? Our listeners, again, giving you the credit, folks, so they could get those ads on in New York saying Building What? Building 7, 30-second ad, then Geraldo Rivera covers it. Then Judge Napolitano comes on this show and says there's no way the official story's real, we're being lied to. Even though that obviously will hurt their career at Fox, they've got the humanity, they can't help but tell the truth. And 9/11 truth, as Cass Sunstein at the White House admits, is the #1 threat to them, and he wants you arrested. This is public. If you talk about it, why? They are so scared of this. What is it like for you to see the, not even rebirth, because it was always growing, but the acceleration, the waxing, the expanding, the exploding of 9/11 truth, and taking that tool of false flag terror away from the globalist, where now anytime they stage an underwear bombing or something, our listeners are on board. They see the U.S. government get him on the plane. The government denies it for 2 months, and then it comes out that they did do it. I mean, people are having an awakening. Our people are everywhere, inside the military, the police, on airplanes, in the cockpit, and in the passenger area, and in the factories, and on the borders, and in the media. I mean, we got the Popular Mechanics article months before it came out from moles inside. We get the hit pieces from MSNBC before they're out. Our people are everywhere.
It's so amazing seeing the lie being chipped away, chip by chip, just with little actions that we do. And even having Geraldo Rivera come out with the truth, he was the last person I ever expected to come out in full support of Building What and the whole 9/11. And just seeing that, it was just so incredible, especially after the incident me and you had with him in 2007. And if Geraldo Rivera could come out and openly talk about 9/11 Truth on his newscast, the potential is amazing, and that's why Cass Sunstein calls for the open infiltration of this 9/11 Truth movement, openly calls for the government sending out disinformation to try to counter us and try to get rid of us. That's why the Southern Poverty Law Center puts on Patriots' Most Wanted list, because they're afraid of us. They have fear. And one thing that we have that they don't have is love and compassion, and they're afraid of that. They're afraid of truth. They're afraid of liberty and justice, and that's why it's just so amazing. It's just been such an incredible, life-changing experience to see the difference in people. I mean, in New York City, I started out, 7, 8 years ago, at being at Ground Zero. People spit at you, people were mad, and now it's totally different. People are waking up to the ideas. People are researching. People are not just believing the lamestream media, and they're going online and they're looking up real journalists who are going up to these people and asking them the real questions about 9/11. And we're going to be doing this full time. We're not giving up, and I feel so bad not being able to put my full potential into We Are Changed because of school and because of work. But right now, this is it. I mean, this is the time. We're just getting started. You're going to see a whole bunch of new videos. You're going to see us organizing huge events, and we're not backing down for this. We're in this for the long run, and we're not giving up until we have liberty, until we have true freedom, and until we accomplish what we wanted, which is a better life, which is a better world for us and our children, for God's sake.
Well, you're right, Luke, and if we don't expose the narrative, the hoax, the fable, the fiction of 9/11, it is what they're going to continue to use to destroy our republic. We're going to go to break and come back and talk about the Dick Cheney situation, but just briefly, whatever campaign, whatever organization, found your own groups, create a We Are Change, whatever. Be part of the V campaign. All of this integrates together. What do you think of our V for Victory campaign? It is really having an effect.
It's beautiful. I love seeing people take action, call yourselves whatever you want. Just go out there and do something. It's such an incredible feeling. It's such an incredible rush to help people. What we're doing is we're educating people. We're providing them a service. We're doing something that the mainstream media has been not doing for years and years and years. And I commend you for starting the V for Victory. It's an amazing idea. And really, resistance is victory. Going out there, putting up signs, educating the local cops, going out there and talking to people, not being afraid of this is the key. And I'm so proud to be a part of it.
Now, you were at CPAC. I want to do a little bit on Cheney and your confrontation with him, the videos at wearechange.org and the articles we wrote at Infowars.com. But I also want to spend a little bit of the time we have with him, we're almost out of time, unfortunately, talking about Ron Paul. He won second year in a row. Fox ran a hoax and showed video from last year of some people booing him and said it was this year. That'll give you an idea of just how wicked and scared these people are of the truth. Luke Rudkowski is our guest. They know that the American people want Ron Paul. And so they don't even really report that he wins the straw poll, and they show video of people booing him a year ago and say that happened there. Fox News has been caught. Fox News caught in shocking dirty tricks stunt against Ron Paul. We're doing the Google search term today. Make it #1, folks. You're awesome. Fox News caught. Fox News caught, and that will lead them to it. You were there at CPAC. What did you think of how they were trying to treat Ron Paul, Luke?
I mean, I met a lot of amazing Ron Paul supporters. They're incredible people, and there were a lot of different neocons there who were just grimacing and were so angry when he was speaking. And, you know, it was just incredible. I mean, hearing Ron Paul speak inspired me so much. I got a little interview with him, too. It's going to be on We Are Change in a couple days. You know, we're going to release the new Gingrich video. We confronted him on the Bohemian Grove there. My friend Anthony Antello for We Are Change Pennsylvania got Donald Rumsfeld on the $2.3 trillion that was missing. And we came in on their first day, and we pretty much wrecked havoc the first day. And then the next day we came back, they pretty much set up fake walls so we couldn't get anywhere near these people.
See, Cass Sunstein wants to infiltrate us. We're infiltrating them, and they can't stand it. We're on the march. They're on the run.
Yeah, and there were so many amazing people out there who were aware of the work, who were, you know, supporting us, who were giving us tips where all the other politicians were. And the CPAC people, I mean, they literally had to put up fake walls from one exit to another exit, so all these politicians wouldn't have anybody coming up to them and asking them questions. And I'm just so proud to have everybody there with, you know, Danny Panzella and James Lane and so many other great activists out there. And we pretty much wreaked havoc at CPAC, and we pretty much took it over with the questions. The Ron Paul people were amazing. And it was just one of the best experiences in my life, seeing so many people caring for liberty, caring for freedom, and, you know, standing there.
And Cheney got booed when he was on stage, then confronted over and over again. It lets them know, wherever they go in the world, they're getting confronted, that we are aware of them, and it really makes them back off at many levels. They've backed off on trying to get our guns because they know we're waking up. They're backing off on so many issues. Luke, in closing, and again, the video's at wearechange.org. It's also at Infowars.com. Cheney tried to snarl at you, but then put his head down and kind of just crawled off into the elevator. I mean, you got right in his face, but calmly let him know that you're aware that he was involved in 9/11.
It was an incredible feeling, and the rush that I got after that, the, you know, adrenaline was just so powerful, so amazing. And one thing I just hope, you know, don't thank me for doing it. The biggest thanks you could give me is going out there yourselves and confronting your local politician, your local congressman. Don't thank me. I'm just one individual doing it. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes. You know, I don't ask the best questions. English is my second language, for God's sakes, and I messed up big time, too, because I messed up on John Bolton and Alan West. My microphone wasn't working, and so many other ones. But we're going to have some good stuff out there, and one thing I just hope out of all this is when you see it, you know, I hope it inspires you to take action and to go out there and to do it yourselves, because we're taking back the mainstream media. We are the mainstream media. We're going out there and asking the real questions, and people are aware of that, and people are paying attention. And it's up to us just to keep working, keep busting our humps, and going out there.
Well, that brings me to this last point. Sunstein, the regulations are at the White House, and others, they've been admittedly building the cybersecurity takeover of the web. They're now admitting it's to shut the web off and to slowly start curtailing it. They can do either. They're telling us, oh, have freedom of the internet in Egypt, when Google's over there running the overthrow of their old apprentice, their old puppet. Now USA Today has the headline, "Kill Switch Internet Bill Alarms Privacy Experts." And they just go on and admit, yeah, they're getting ready to put in the power to shut off the web. They're scared of the American people.
They definitely are, and I'm not afraid of their, you know, internet kill switch. I know there's so many great hackers out there, so many tech geeks out there who know other forms of communications, who know how to bypass a lot of different things. So they have.
There's micro FM. There's hanging up flyers. The more they try to suppress and bury the truth, the more it's going to stand out for people.
Exactly. The more they try to stop us, the more we grow. So, you know, they can't really do anything to us. They know they messed up. They know that we're doing the right thing peacefully, non-violently. They know we're the ones trying to take back this country and make a better life for everybody. And they know they've really made a big mistake, and they're pretty much screwed. And it's up to all of us to take advantage of the situation and to just go out there and to, you know, be the full potential that we are, that we all can be within all inside of us.
Well, Luke, be the change you want to see in the world. First they ignore you, then they attack you, then they laugh at you. Then you win. Resistance is victory, and you and all the great folks that have led by your example are a testament to that. And so you didn't even talk about the death threats you get, your family getting death threats, the things you've gone through to get the truth out. But it's the only choice we've got. It's freedom or slavery, and you have chosen freedom. I choose freedom. I choose liberty with you. And it's just, I'm honored to know you, my brother.
I'm honored that you woke me up, brother, and you helped me, you know, get here. And I thank you so much for all the work you do, and I wish you the best. And I'm here with you, brother, and whatever.
You too. God bless you, Luke. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.
Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. Live from Austin, Texas, broadcasting worldwide, it's Alex Jones.
Gerald Celente for the next 30 minutes is our guest, founder of the Trends Research Institute. Really need to know introduction here. And, of course, many years ago, he predicted the commodity prices, the oil, the food going up, triggering food riots. He, of course, predicted the Tea Party rising several years before it did. And he is a frequent contributor to our radio broadcast. And I wanted to get him on about Egypt, about the economy, this new giant budget, all these huge tax increases, like 69% on state income tax in Illinois, the austerity where they raise the taxes but cut the benefits, the governor of Wisconsin coming out on NPR on Monday and saying, oh, if state employees don't like their pay being slashed and us taking more of their money for the pension fund, we'll just call the National Guard out on them. And some say, yeah, cut their pay. That'll pay off the deficit. It's the derivatives. That's 1.5 quadrillion. You could cut everything and it wouldn't pay for even a few percentage points of it. We don't owe this money. And so Gerald has broken all this down, but I want him to go over it and give us the big picture geopolitically of what's happening and continuing to tweak his trends forecast, what he sees coming up in the next few months here in the United States. Gerald, great having you with us.
Hey, thanks, Alex.
You've got the floor. What do you want to cover first?
Well, let's look at Egypt first. If you go back to our Trends Journal, we've been predicting this. About 2 years ago, we came out with Workers of the World Unite 2.0. This has nothing to do with democracy, theocracy. It has to do with the bottom line. And the bottom line is this. When the money stops flowing down to Main Street, the blood begins to flow on the streets. And the money is not flowing down. We're looking at, for example, in Egypt, the per capita wage, the average wage of an Egyptian is $10 a day. That's according to the Egyptian statistics. Now, when you see food prices going up, you got a lot of angry people because the cream at the top of the pyramid, if you will, they're taking all the dough. So what we wrote about also in the Trends Journal that you have, the winter edition that went out just weeks before, days actually, before the Tunisian uprisings, we sent out a synopsis. One of them was Youth of the World Unite. And I've been talking about this on your show as well. Here these kids, figure it out. You have a 50% unemployment rate in Spain. Probably in Italy it's around 35. And the kids angry. They have college degrees in worthlessness. There's no job future. They have this white shoe boy language. I love it. You brought it up. Austerity measures. Here's some austerity measures. We're going to cut the minimum wage, as they did in Ireland, 12%. They're not making anything anyway. Let's cut it lower. We're going to increase the costs of everything, all the services, all the licensing fees. We'll be after you for every little thing you do wrong, and you'll pay more for it. And we're going to cut services. Oh, and by the way, those pensions, we're going to cut those along with their benefits. And your retirement age, I got a good one for you. We're going to increase the retirement age till after you die. How's that? Oh, one other thing. We're going to raise taxes across the board. And we have to do this because the white shoe boys, I love the language, they don't want to take a haircut on the bad bets that they made, so you have to pay them off. What's going on, in, as we said, Off With Their Heads 2.0, the Autumn Trends Journal, what's going on in Tunisia, what's going on in Egypt, it's not Arab exclusive. You know, there's a beginning of, it's going to go to Europe, as we said. You know, Alex, remember when you were a kid, they taught you in school, World War I began when they assassinated the Archduke Ferdinand in Sarajevo. And you had the multiple choice junk, you know, you had to figure it out, the dates. No, it didn't. There were brush fires. The aristocracy started losing their money and they started trying to steal it from everybody else. And they're doing the same thing now. We are on the doorstep of the first great war, the Spring Trends Journal, of the 20th century. The brush fires are starting in Tunisia. They're starting in Egypt. They're starting in Bahrain, in Iran, in Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Greece, Spain, Portugal, Italy, the UK. You're going to see uprisings around the world as the little people start getting squeezed more and more.
Well, Gerald, now the UK is reporting 4% increase in inflation a month, and that's even the government's own cook numbers. We're getting more reports every day of TSA agents planting drugs on people, sexually harassing them. One guy stole $160,000 reportedly from check bags. I mean, we're just seeing more and more corruption come out, and now every major Islamic nation in the Middle East is in turmoil. That is spreading. In fact, here are some of the headlines. Egypt's protest flare despite military warning. Anti-government protests spread to Libya. Thousands of police confront protesters in Yemen. Protests spreading all over Saudi Arabia. Bahrain protesters urge more pressure. 100 Egyptians reach Italy amid Arab exodus. Carter says Muslim Brotherhood, nothing to be afraid of. So the social engineers knew that these upheavals were about to happen because of food prices. Their own reports admitted that, so they went in and triggered the overthrow of Mubarak, thinking they're going to control it, but clearly they're not going to be able to control it. And you talked about war in the Middle East being the answer to this depression. Clearly the social engineers are trying to nudge this crisis in a direction they can control, and then they will pose as the arbiters or the referees of the unfolding crisis.
I don't know if it's being engineered. I think the whole thing's out of control the way I see it.
No, they know it's out of control, so they went ahead and triggered it.
Oh, yeah, they're going to engineer it. I mean, let's go back. Let's play back the Egyptian uprising. As it began, we heard from Joe Biden, right? He said that Mubarak wasn't a dictator and he should stay in office. I looked about how long was Mubarak in for 30 years. You know how long Biden's been sucking off the public tit? 36 years. Of course he wasn't a dictator, not to Biden. He's been living his whole life off us. And $40 billion of our dollars going over there. And then you heard Hillary Clinton say, it has to be an orderly transition. They have to get their roles together, the voting rolls. So now you're hearing champions for democracy. I've never seen, that's the engineering, is this hypocrisy. The hypocrisy coming out of Washington. They supported this guy for 30 years. And here's the other thing that everybody should really be furious at. We were mentioning about Obama's new budget. Was it about $50 billion going into foreign aid? Let me tell you what foreign aid is. Foreign aid is your money that you work for every day. They take it out of your pocket, and then they send it to their buddies overseas that they want to do deals with. That's all it is. Grow up about this. So let's stop this foreign aid baloney, because Egypt got $40 billion of ours. What is Israel getting? $3 billion plus a year. I don't want my money going anywhere. How about this? How about sending it to Detroit? There's a war zone.
Well, meanwhile, we have U.S. troops being shot at, U.S. police being killed, U.S. diplomats, U.S. ICE agents, and the media is not worried about that. The government's not worried about that. Mexican troops now coming across the U.S. border and searching citizens at checkpoints. But we have telescreens going in Walmart telling us spy on our neighbors. They're now going to have Homeland Security announcements during NBA basketball games, trying to make Janet Napolitano some type of rock star. We have just all of this going on. TSA robbing people. It really is scary how corrupt this society is going. Summing it up, where do you see America in a month, 6 months, a year, 2 years? I mean, you've talked about revolution, tax rebellions. You talked about it years before it came. Now it's starting. Where do you see it going?
Well, on the one end, it's what you're talking about. They're going to clamp down on us more and more. Again, the hypocrisy. Hillary Clinton talking about the freedom of the internet while they're clamping down on this end. And in the Trends Journal, there's that wonderful piece in the winter edition by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, Loss of Liberty. That's where it's going. So it's hard to say if there's going to be revolts in this country because we see the hypocrisy. As they were talking about let the people in Egypt revolt. You know, don't come down on the journalists. What do they do in this country? Look what happened at the G20 meetings in Pittsburgh a few years ago. They closed down the whole city. You couldn't protest. All those goon squads. Maybe they should bring in the Egyptian
And it turned out in
squad.
Canada, the police were lying when they said no protest allowed, that a special law had been passed. Turned out they were just lying. Here's USA Today. Kill switch internet bill alarms privacy experts. The government's openly saying they want to be able to shut the internet off, and they're getting ready to launch a false flag against the web. There's no doubt about that.
No doubt about it. And they're going to launch a bigger false flag. It's going to be terrorism or war. Mark my words. Yeah, for anybody that has a attention deficit disorder or suffering from Alzheimer's disease or living in, a little kid that can't put it together, remember the main. Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. Oh, here's one for you. The Gulf of Tonkin, remember that beautiful lie? They'll lie about anything. They'll take you to war. And this is what we wrote about, Alex, back in 2008 when the whole bailout scams began. We said when the bailout bubbles burst, the next stop is war. We're heading toward the first great war of the 21st century. You mentioned about the czarette, Janet Napolitano. That bureaucratic, she knows a lot about security, she's really on time. And, look what they're doing. Look at Obama's budget. They're increasing Homeland Security. They're not cutting defense.
That's right. They announced tens of billions of dollars for more naked body scanners to roll out on the streets, the courthouses, everywhere.
Everywhere in the cities, in the states. More money to control you and me. That's all this is about. As they lose control, they take more control. Let's look more at the budget. Defense. They're cutting defense. I love it. They go $78 billion. Then you read it. $78 billion over 5 years. So what are we talking about? $15 billion? Now let's add in some inflation into that. They're increasing the defense budget. So what they're doing is they're taking the money and they're putting it more into apparatuses that control us more. So when you ask me, what is it going to look like? They're going to control us more and more and clamp down on dissent more and more. On the financial end, we had warned, as other people have, about the rampant inflation. You mentioned the UK 4%. You look what's going on in India, in China. What are these protests about? People can't put food in their mouth. Food prices are at all-time highs, and they're earning all-time lows. The reason for this inflation is not only supply and demand. It's because, kiddies, commodities are based in dollars.
And now we have the French.
Bernanke devalue the dollar, so everything else is going up. They're robbing you.
And now, Gerald, the head of the G20, the French minister, came out and said dump the dollar a month ago, Hu Jintao. And now that consensus is there to go ahead and get rid of the dollar in the next year or so as the world reserve currency. But like cockroaches, when they've been sprayed with poison, they start running around even faster. The system is even flooding the world even that much faster, and we see inflation rearing its head here, which hurts people on fixed incomes, you name it. I mean, any way you slice it, this is going to be a disaster.
It is. Oh, by the way, there's no inflation. Look at all those people out there that haven't gotten COLA increases. This is I was on Judge Napolitano's show. He's one of my favorites last week. I said, this is the USSA. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. How could you say there's no inflation? And it began under Clinton, and they keep the lie going. There's rampant inflation. Anybody that works and pays for things every day, again, not the billionaires and the multimillionaires, they don't know what the price of a gallon of gasoline is. So what we're seeing here is insidious inflation. And by the way, the Europeans are as responsible for this as the American central bank. They're doing the same thing. You're flooding the market with cheap money. Because, again, I mean, I'm not making this stuff up. Go to Bloomberg. It's even there today. They're worried about the financiers getting haircuts. I mean, so they're flooding more money into the system.
And the big central banks are making record profits. What do you think about Ron Paul, shifting gears, going into this year's election? He won the CPAC poll 2 years in a row. They re-aired an old video of him being booed and played it on Fox and said that that's what happened this year when he won. I mean, this was a hoax that they ran. They are really scared of him.
You know, I've been getting some emails from young people who attended that, actually. And one of them was very insightful, saying how the young people really don't like the Republican Party at all, and they're really Ron Paul supporters. And that's what the core of this country is moving toward. As a matter of fact, you've heard me say the phrase before, progressive libertarian. And a matter of fact, Judge Andrew Napolitano had on Ron Paul and Ralph Nader. He told me it was he got more responses from that show just about from any other one. That's the direction. Progressive in terms of the environment. Oh, by the way, all you Obama lovers, you wimpocrats out there, you know, you quiche-eating, grinning, and balsamic smile people. Obama's cutting the EPA budget by an estimated 30%. How's that for some more change you can't believe in? So what we're seeing is the revolution is going to come from these educated young people who want to become involved, and they are the Ron Paul supporters. I'll tell you, my dream ticket would be a Ron Paul, someone like a Ralph Nader, and a Secretary of State like a Judge Andrew Napolitano. I'm on a lot of shows, as you well know, Alex. I respect him more than, and on the mainstream media I'm talking about, I respect him more than anybody. He says it like it is.
Yeah, he said on this show that the 9/11 official story is a fraud. And, boy, that caused quite a furor. We're going to come back with final ideas and points with the one, the only Gerald Celente. I'm Alex Jones. Stay with us. All right, it's our final segment with Gerald Celente joining us. Gerald, Obama last week went ahead and expanded the Security Prosperity Partnership, North American Union, to say we have a continental security perimeter using the crises in Mexico they've engineered. We see just continued evidence of the Depression unfolding. In the last 4 minutes or so that we have left, what else do you think is most important on your radar screen, or what other tidbits do you want to impart to folks right now?
Well, this is really a time to be vigilant. Something we believe is going to happen of a very large magnitude. Again, we're not alarmists and we're not Monday morning quarterbacks. We call the shots before they happen with these riots that are now taking place in Tunisia and Egypt. We said it, that it would be young people, it would be, and we said, and this time the revolution will not only be televised, it'll be Twittered, Facebooked, and YouTubed. And so people really need to know, watch what's going on very closely. And in going back to the Obama lie, and again, your Obama deception, well, that documentary should win awards, because you really nailed it so early on. And anybody that hasn't seen that, I really highly recommend that they show it to everyone that they know who still believes in the great lie. And here's another part of the great lie. When Obama became president, he said that they've earmarked $2 trillion worth of savings that they saw in the federal budget. Well, obviously, they never came through with that because they weren't there. And then they said, according to the Congressional Budget Office, in 2009, that do you know what the deficit would be in 2011, according to their projections? $500 billion. What is it? Oh, it's estimated to be $1.6 trillion. So the lies that are coming out right in front of our face are beyond the belief of anything that you could make up. And as I said, what we're most concerned about now is something is going to happen, a real, it's either going to be a terrorism or a call to war at some level. And by the way, I only saw it once. I haven't had time to follow up on it, about Petraeus leaving Afghanistan. Is that true?
Well, there's calls for them to try to start pulling out and perhaps removing Petraeus.
No,
but
Petraeus himself leaving.
I haven't confirmed that, no.
Oh, because I saw something come across on that. And if the point that I'm making is that these are losing wars. They're losing in Pakistan in that CIA drone war. They're losing in Afghanistan. And there's no end in sight in Iraq. Something we believe is going to happen. So what I'm saying is that I believe when it does happen, they're going to close down the banks. And they closed down Wall Street when 9/11 happened. This time there's going to be a run on cash, run on ATM. So I would just suggest to people that, you know, have your e-foods, have your survival gear in place, because if the worst does, and have money on hand, and have you know, I believe in gold, as you know.
So you're saying this depression could really accelerate and become a complete meltdown?
Yes, that's all they need. That's all we need now is a geopolitical flashpoint, and this thing unravels, bam, the bottom falls out. So what I'm saying is that if the worst doesn't happen, at least you're prepared.
Absolutely. In closing, David Petraeus quitting. The Times of London is reporting that he is going to be stepping down sometime near the end of the year, but now the Pentagon is denying that. So who knows what the truth is, Gerald?
Who knows what the truth is? And so the point being, if you don't prepare now, you could lose everything. The stock market is a rigged game. Only little kids believe that they could play it and win it. Because with the high-frequency trading, the dark pools, everybody knows what's going on and watching it.
Absolutely. Trendsresearch.com. Our site's Infowars.com. Thank you, Gerald. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.